them just because of that, just because it messes up how they play. But we'll see. Bans coming out here. Maybe they will ban a Monty instead, just be like you said. No, well, this is Chaos's ban, of course, but that's IQ in play. Interesting. I imagine we'll see some Valkyrie play then if it doesn't get banned, and maybe Echo, depending on the bans. Okay, the other global operator, as they're referred to. So no phone calls, just the EE1Ds. Then I imagine we'll see G2 probably using Lion. If they're going to have to deal with it, they're going to want to use it as well. And Pulse. Some interesting variety of bans here. This is not just the typical meta. Maybe Echo or Mira will be the last one, which is more in meta, but those first three, not really operators you see banned a ton. Pulse, occasionally on some maps, and nope, there goes the Valkyrie there by Chaos. Interesting that they're going to ban the IQ and the Valkyrie there. They could have taken advantage of that. But that means Maestro and Echo still available, as well as most of the attackers that you'd be using. So this should be a really interesting setup here. It feels like either team's really kind of trying to set up a specific strategy or just a lot of counter banning. Now we know G2 obviously have a very good analyst in Sua, as well as good support there from
Shas and Sua.
Yeah. I guess. So it's definitely the case where there's a good chance those might be some counter bans to Chaos, a lot being studied by them. And we're going to start down in the kitchen for the first bomb site here. So we'll see how that goes. There obviously is going to be that sledge action to tear up the floor. Looks like we're going to see a Zofia as well, probably bringing breaches. So I got to imagine a lot of floor destruction going to come out for some angles there. And there's that Captao. Now Captao, Fabian was playing Captao pretty much every round on attack last match on Cafe. Yeah. He wasn't always doing great with it, getting killed early a few times, but it's such a strong operator right now that we're seeing it actually getting banned quite a bit as well, because for those of you who aren't familiar, who haven't been paying attention, the way Captao bolts work now is they propagate fire and it drops down. So if you shoot up somewhere high, like say a ceiling, the fire will rain down and then spread, which is something that offers a huge amount of angles to be able to play with Captao firebolts that you just could not before. Did not change the smoke in any way, but it's a big difference. Also, him getting the scope that Gridlock has onto his LMG has made a huge difference in LMG play. And I think that will potentially affect you. I'm not sure which one Fabian's going to be playing. Might be on the para. But we'll see how that goes. On defense-wise, they just got the mute, but no bandit for any of the walls or anything like that. Just going to be counting on maybe some of those mute jammers, or just expecting that they're going to maybe use a few angles from the Hibana, but no thermite in here, so not huge breaches coming out.
On LATAM, we've seen quite a few bans on the Thatcher, so we'll finally get to see more of them in this situation. But we'll see if he actually becomes effective for G2. There's a bit of damage done to Fabian here early on. Just repelling by the side and the entrance to the site itself. But right now, there's support from Kanto Raketti as he'll get on into the aquarium and just waiting for his teammates to come in for support. Drone should have already been out, and they know that there's somebody by the main staircase. Uno's actually watching in here alongside Pengu, so they might just try to bait out their opponents. Pengu as well. Oh, the Air 33 on the Thatcher. He'll have an angle as well on Red Group here in the Legion. Will actually run away, walk all the way down to the main lobby.
Interesting too, because Pengu was playing a lot of Thatcher last time as well. It seems like they found some roles they're kind of sticking to across maps. Although Uno on the sledge is an interesting change, but secretly winning that fight against Goga means no hard breach available at all. And Diffuser dropped as well. Now secretly can hold it from the Cool Vibe stairs. They're really going to have to work it. No, I guess not. Fabian completely on top of it, taking him down. That's the Maestro down early, which is very strong here, although at least the Legion and the Smoke still available as late round operators. Fabian, though, half health, didn't really take any damage from that engagement. So overall, G2 not in a bad position, but losing their hard breacher is potentially problematic depending on what their strategy was for that Hibana. Uno just trying to take this engagement. They're a little slow on his map control because Chaos don't seem to want to give up a ton just yet.
Now there's a lot of mute jammers here that are preventing Uno and the rest of G2 from going up and at least droning the mute and getting information on him. Uno's going to go and cook the grenade, fire all the way in the back, but the mute has already escaped. Kanto will run back, but Pengu's just watching the rotation hole in the back of theater, and Crips go down. 45 seconds. Well done here by Chaos to just slow things out, but Vitaline turns around and finds the kill, and Uno eliminating the sledge and making short work of all the grenades that he had to use. Fabian with the para, walking in by the main lobby. Lifeline being used to burn out the ADSs in the back. Red Groove find Fabian here all on his own. The Fuser, at least in the hands of Kanto Raketti, has got to wait See quite a few angles against his opponents. He's got to watch the top floor, though. That's where Vidalian and Redgroove are. They might just be able to go for the diffuser plant. Kanto in a pretty safe position now to go for plant, but Redgroove, what a shot! Takes away Pengu. Now the rest of Chaos will have to come in and take down Kanto Raketti, well known for his clutch play. He's on one angle, gets shot from behind as he turns in, finds the headshot on the mute. One angle to be held, Kanto Raketti with the clutch. And on his own will put G2 on his back. Take down Redgroove at the end, both the Legion and the mute. No chance in hell.
Definitely a little bit of a slow start there for G2, looking like they were kind of warming up a bit. You could see kind of some of the slowness of the play, a little bit of almost, I would say, fumbly, but not really. But good exploitation of that by Redgroove. Some good plays by him with the Legion's gun, just getting some quick kills on that. However, the trades still were going mostly in Chaos's favor. It was just Kanto's clutch ability, like you said at the end there. Plus, they had a good plant spot. Their ability to plant on the other side of the wall from where you usually plant in kitchen definitely helped a little bit because you saw Redgroove going around looking for that typical plant spot in the kitchen, and he was completely on the other side of the wall, like in nowhere to attack from above, so that top floor control not actually paying off, forcing them to rotate down, which gave him that extra opportunity to get the plant down. So nice by Kanto, 3K for him last round, and Redgroove with the 2K. But we'll see how it goes now that they've switched bomb sites here down to bar. See if they can defend that a little bit better. A lot of reinforcements and setup here coming up upstairs. Castle barricades as well, trying to hold off Billiards. This seems to be a linchpin in their defense here. Now, I've got to imagine, though, the drones are going to read into that, figure that that's what they need to take advantage of. Maybe even just take advantage of some plant spots downstairs without taking too much top floor control. But same setup coming out from G2 in terms of lineup as last round. Only slight changes here on Chaos, although interestingly switching Redgroove over to mute, and then secretly, Crypt's taking Legion instead.
Odd here, because if you look at the history, Redgroove has definitely been an excellent Legion in.
Oh, yeah.
So definitely someone that, if you want to learn how to play Legion, you should be looking at just to see how he maneuvers around the map, constantly making sure that he's rotating between all of his goo mines to use him to his advantage. And his teammates, Fabian, coming on in with his drone. He'll spot the Maestro running back on a site. Pengu throwing up an EMP. It'll destroy any utility below it. There's an Evil Eye being prepped as we speak. Kanto Raketti fighting on the top floor. Makes a lot of sense. Yeah, sure. The defense is downstairs in the double bars, but you want to make sure you clear the top floor. It gives you a huge advantage as well later on for your assault. And Kanto Raketti finding another position here for the tarp. Every time this position gets patched, another one gets found. Oh my
what a nade.
That
was fantastic.
That's a hell of a shot there. Uno will find it. He gets shot from the side, staying alive for just a moment, but he knows there's one rotating, and Goga holding off the cross angle, take down Crips. Uno's watching the hatch to support his teammates, but Uno is just going to get spotted as he's going on his own by the Cool Vibe stairs with no information and no support as Fabian watches for rotations. He's got his crossbow bolts, and with his team in control of the top floor, it'll be time here for G2 to press the advantage that they have, and Drone will come in to kitchen to isolate any player in the back. They should be able to spot Vidalian here. Kanto Raketti will lose his drone, so he knows at least there's one player in the kitchen. Vidalian instantly to take his head off secretly for a second on Goga, and everything swings the way of Chaos.
They were doing so good at first on G2, but now down to a 2v3. They can still absolutely clutch this out. I mean, Pengu and Fabian, some of the top fraggers on the team sometimes. I mean, it does hurt a little bit to lose Uno, but I have faith they could clutch this. Pengu doesn't need a ton of health, but he doesn't have the most lethal gun in the game necessarily. Fabian, though, evening things up. All they've got to do is finish off secretly without low health, and then they can 2v1 on Vidalian.
Just walks into the site alone. Diffuser's going to get picked up here by Pengu, but secretly takes down Fabian all on his own. Pre-fire from Pengu will find one on Vidalian, and secretly at longer range, having so much more HP, is able to lock down Pengu. Get the first round in for Chaos.
Definitely a good round for them, but it was a lot of fluid flexibility in terms of reading where G2 was and trying to take advantage of flanks, a lot of fluid positioning. G2 at first, I think, had a good job of crossfiring for each other, covering each other, but once Uno fell, it seemed like they started losing too many players in individual 1v1s or 2v1s against Chaos. Just not a ton of great control after that. It seemed like once their entry basically got kind of stunted, they didn't have any initial control of the entry sites, lost too many gunfights. Definitely came down close, though. I thought there was definitely a strong possibility that Pengu could clutch that out, but low health certainly doesn't help. And like I said, the AR-33, while it's a decent indoor gun, isn't necessarily the most frag-heavy gun in the game.
It's pretty darn good for close to mid-range.
Sure.
At longer ranges, especially when you have a holo on, it tends to bounce around a bit too much. Someone who uses the AR-33 quite a bit.
Yeah.
The L-85 just is more controllable at range, but that's the trade-off, right?
Well, it was a good round last time for Chaos, and they're again switching up who's playing what roles. Renewals this time on the Maestro. They definitely seem to be pretty flexible on that. That's something we've seen also from G2, for example. And they are changing up one role this time. Instead of the Capitao, which didn't seem to be doing a lot for them, Fabian's going to be playing on that Twitch, which should help to be able to take out those Evil Eyes, not to mention the F2. Despite Capitao being very strong, I'd say the F2 quite a bit better than Capitao's guns. Just a very strong gun, as everyone knows at this point. And we'll see if he can get some more frags going with it, as he seemed to be struggling a little bit on fragging in terms of sometimes what we expect from Fabian, because he's actually one of the top fraggers on the team and doesn't always get a ton of attention for that because, well, Fabian already gets too much attention. We don't want to give him more.
Yeah, I think that's something that Renewals, he sprays half his mag and he drops Uno on the outside. Uno just maneuvering in positions where he could easily get spotted and taken out. And this isn't the first time that it happens. The third round in a row where he's just running out with no drone, no info.
I don't know about a sledge play. It's not really doing a ton for him.
No, unfortunately, he's not surviving long enough to have the sledge really give them their advantage. Now, Fabian will lose one of his shock turns. I'm not sure if there's the second one still available. Look on in, watching for any goo mines. Scripps takes a bullet to the back. Just dropping down. Fabian with one onto Crips. Fabian is getting absurdly aggressive here. He's going to watch for the Maestro, but he knows that Renewals is coming around here. He'll grab one, but he has to watch for the second angle. Immediately turns away to fire, but everybody's just watching him. That's the problem that you have when you're walking alone. He downed Vitaline, sure, yes. But there's nobody from G2 to refrag, and Vitaline should get picked up as we speak. There you go. Secretly will make it completely worth it.
Long.
Oh, Pengu, very well done. That's the follow-up that you need, G2.
Yeah. Well, overall, though, I got to say Fabian switching to the F2, playing that was much better. Essentially, he basically killed 3 players at that point. I mean, yes, one of them was just down, finished off by Pengu, but at such low health, now with the system only giving you 20 HP, it's practically a kill sometimes, unless they end up getting kills themselves. But now a man advantage and a strong man advantage, I think, assuming Goga can get good positioning as well and coverage to potentially set up for a plant, because a minute 15 is a lot of time to fight this out, especially if they have any drones left. Good position here from Kanto as well. Play from above, does see him. Metal bars making it hard, though. Unfortunately, he doesn't want to over-peak this, which is smart. Still has 2 breach charges left as well, if he wants to open up more of the floor.
So much damage already been done here to both Goga and Kanto, secretly low on HP. Redgroove, he has a Nitro Cell to use, but unfortunately the angle just makes it a bit too difficult for him to spot. The diffuser will get set. Pengu knows where all this fire is coming from. He drops down, but no, a bit too slow on the return. Redgroove is 1, he gets 2 kills. And that's a 3K for him. Can he get the 4th? Kanto Rochetti's already upstairs. A lot of fire down into Redgroove, and there's not much that he can do. He still has the Nitro Cell to chuck. Can he find it? The kill comes out. Redgroove, he clutches it. Kanto Rocchetti going down. I cannot believe it. The 4K from Redgroove. He can play whatever opera you need, and he'll make sure you get the run at the end of it. The man single-handedly wins it all.
Definitely. He was one of the newer players to the team a little while ago, too, and he has really found his place. Very, very strong player. I'm not surprised to see that from Redgroove, but that was stellar. That's what I would love to see more often.
That's a fadeaway, no-scope Nitro Cell to win you the round. That's a great play, and it looks sexy as hell when it's posted. It really does. This is one of those where, you know, those old school Modern Warfare montages where everything slows down and you hear the beat drop. That's the clip that you open things with.
Yeah, that was definitely some strong play. Fabian actually going to 6-pick back to his Capitao and then secretly going to sneak onto the Legion from the Clash. I got to imagine Fabian 6-pick to the Capitao seeing the Clash, but he should have, I assume, anticipated that as a bait. But, I mean, I suppose that's smart to just be careful just in case. That way they have the Zofia and the Capitao to be able to try and do something about that Clash if he had stuck it. But in this case, just going to be back to the old goo mines. That last round, though, I definitely think it was down to just HP. Made so many different so many times. Like, for example, when Uno got down, his HP being low. Same thing with Vitaline. And then at the end there, part of the reason that Redgroove was able to clutch so well was just such low HP on most of the attackers at that point. G2 You know, most of them, I think, were below 50 HP in a lot of those engagements after the plant got down. So he was pretty much able to spray. But the C4, that was really the highlight. That was the smartest play. Because I do not think he anticipated that at all. A lot of setup, though, here from above. Interesting to put a mute jammer on a position where it's exposed a little bit too from below, but I seriously doubt that's going to get shot. Just trying to guard these walls a little bit. It's interesting to see no electricity being used at all, just mute jammers for everything. You know, they're not bringing a bandit, they're not bringing a Kaid. They're just really dependent on mute jamming. Just, I mean, you're not really going to trick those, and Thatcher's being brought every round by Pingu, so it's just a matter of time, I think, if those want to get open. Although I don't think we've seen Goga opening a ton. I mean, I imagine he's opened some things.
He's been dead a lot of time.
He was even alive down to the plant last round, but it's just I don't think they're necessarily needing a lot of the hard breach as well. So it just comes down to flexibility. I do think Fabian was much better on Twitch, though, so I could imagine his fragging power might turn down a notch this round, but you never know. I feel like a lot of times he gets himself shot up or killed on rappel, so depending on how they attack this site, may or may not find a similar fate. It seemed to happen a bit on Cafe last time. But they are getting some map control fairly quickly here, starting with VIP, starting to push their way towards Billiards, starting with some smoke to cut off 90 so they can rotate. Uno, though, with the first kill on the middle, and his follow-up there by Fabian on renewals on Cool Vibes. Fabian rotating around now for potentially a third.
Oh, Fabian connects. Redgrave taken away by the small bar there, but secretly will find 2 kills of his own. Gogan, Cantor, Raketti. Kripson secretly with 2 more. And then everything just returns the way of Chaos. How is this even allowed to happen? Pingu's the last man alive versus Secretly and Crypt. Now, he's got all the utility in the world here with the breaching charges and a single EMP, so he can use it for later. But Fuser has to be set, and he's unsure of where his opponents are. He's got to know they're all around him, and there's an impact grenade to know exactly where he's going for the plant. Secretly should be able to hear him here. Impact thrown right into Pengu. He fires down right on top of him. Diffuser's not been set just yet. Information being relayed back to Crips. Not sure if there's still any evil eyes on the site. The Diffuser will be set. Pengu at 50 HP here in the 1v2. He takes no damage. He gets fired upon and taken away by Crips. It's the Jaeger to come in and just play the second angle. Very well done by Chaos to wait until they have the extra firepower, and they'll grab yet another round and put it on the board. G2 just not able to find their footing here. And just Chaos are everywhere at the same time.
It seemed like G2 pushed in for map control pretty fast, trying to take control of Hookah. In fact, they got into Hookah. Chaos was set up in somewhat of a more retake position. They were expecting the typical Aqua attack. But the fact that Chaos pivoted as quick as they did once they started losing men seemed to catch G2 off guard because of just the reactivity of Chaos to say, okay, here's where they're attacking from. Everyone quick pivot, taking advantage of a lot of their roamers being off-site for that retake setup, which ended up completely working. And good on Pengu to eventually get the plant down, but in a 1v2 situation like that, you're not going to get a lot out of it because all they've got to do is pinch you, and you have to win that kind of 180 no-scope sort of flick fest to be able to survive that. Our first Echo, surprisingly, coming out now. I would have expected it a little bit earlier, but Chaos actually sneaking in via 6th pick for their return to bar. So far, they have succeeded on every one of their sites now as they won bar, kitchen, and hookah all in a row, so they can go back to bar now. See Secretly, Red Groove, and Vittleman doing some work. Renewals still yet to put some kills on the board, but he doesn't really need to when his team is already up by 2 points over G2 of all teams. This is looking very good. G2, I feel like their attacks are maybe getting a little bit rushed, sometimes getting a little ahead of themselves in terms of maybe not getting enough intel on the positioning, but Chaos also playing, like I said, very fluid. They're doing a good job moving around the map, taking advantage of it, because this is a map we used to talk about the struggle for roamers and how difficult it was for roamers to be able to kind of move around that big old circle, the square donut, as I like to call it. Means it's difficult to rotate around, but just the flexibility from Chaos, because G2 seems to get centered on, they push into one area for the most part, try and take control of it. But in doing so, they're very focused on the objective, which is a good thing, rather than hunting for frags. But in doing so, it seems like they're getting flanked. Uno, though, at least starting things off. No more goo mines to be put out as Crips gets put into the grave. And now we'll see if he can follow that up. As, like I said, he hasn't been doing fantastic on the sledge, but at least Fabian got a few kills on the Capital last round. So we'll see if this grenade's going to be as successful as the one previously. Nope, you hear it go off, but no damage done. They really need to do something about this Echo, though, or he's going to be a big problem late round when they go for that plant. Fabian tends to push Aqua regardless of the bomb site. Seems to be his approach, and that's going to get a little predictable, unfortunately.
Yeah, he's been moving from Aqua into exactly the room where you see Secretly right now. Just basically hiding behind every bit of the luggage and then just vaulting out and then dying. And it's just not something you can really rely on most, if not all of the time. Pengu will find one, but Reynolds and Red Groove will get two of their own. It's still advantage for G2, but Kanto's taking a decent chunk of damage. Reynolds and Vidaline last two alive. Eliminating Crips early on here, the Legion, is something that'll probably win the round for G2, because not only is it one player down, but also the Legion before he's able to deploy more than 3 of his goo mines.
Along with the Echo as well, so it's just down to the smoke to delay. Renewals as well could be good, but that was his first kill of the match so far, so fragging hasn't been his top priority here, being caught off guard. And this is a very aggressive position to take in a 2v3 situation. I gotta imagine, unless he really has just the right timing, this is going to be a throwaway of his life. I mean, at the very least, though, he is delaying a bit, I suppose, a push. But I got to imagine eventually, if Vidaline gets killed by the other players, then it's just going to come down to a collapse here on Renewals. And Goga not falling for it? Potentially, nope. And just the tension of this. Oh, and speaking of tension, Vidaline looking to approach the stairs. He's going to just throw out a smoke and potentially bail. They're just buying time at this point, and the fight is lost. Renewal's patience absolutely paying off, but Uno trading it back for his 3rd kill of the round. Could completely even this out. And as I said, the manpower advantage here on Renewals, though, they are going to collapse him. They know where he's at this point. He's slow. He's not going to get too far, and the droning from Uno going to confirm it.
Frag grenades in the pocket here to be used. The sledge will pre-fire, and Uno will find it. That's the headshot he needed. Even if
4K.
Even if Renault stayed on the floor, I mean, there was a grenade here to use by Uno, so in terms of flexibility and utility, it was all available. The Evil Eye was giving out information, but when you're in a 1v2 and you have to watch for all these angles, there's not much maneuverability that you can do. As the Maestro, it was kudos for him to be able to get 1 kill from the Atrium, as the Diffuser were still on its own outside after the death of the Habana.
Yeah, that was Goga just not having a drone.
I mean, it kind of seems to be a problem here, but Chaos, at 3 rounds, they're looking pretty here. Round 6, if they can get a 4-2, even a 3-3, it's still okay. All good for them. Though their attacking side will definitely be something to watch for, with the Valkyrie and the IQ being eliminated. Basically, when the IQ gets banned, you force the other team to ban the Valkyrie.
Yeah.
In this case, Chaos just kind of banned both.
Of course, it depends on the map and how useful outside cameras are, but this is definitely one where they make a difference.
And they can run the Echo. That's something that Chaos now will be focusing on, as you've seen for the past couple of rounds, and even in the 3rd one. Not having the IQ for the late round is definitely something that will hurt you if you're G2, but there hasn't really been a need for an IQ because that Echo has been sniped every single time, and it hasn't really been able to do too much to affect the round as much as we've seen with other regions, for example, in or in Latin America, where there has been much more effective Echo play.
Yeah, it's definitely the case where the Echo being banned generally for a good reason. He's a very useful operator. Red Groove, though, a very strong player. So we'll see if he can frag out with it this round. Uno did finally find his stride with the sledge last round. And we'll see if he can keep that up. But seems to be a little bit of a struggle for G2 to kind of find their groove here. Their red groove. In this case, we'll see, though, if Chaos can pick up the pace and end in a 4-2 situation, which would be very strong going into the defense here. But this is the final round here. We'll see if Renewals can get a second one here out into Uno. Not going to fall for it this time. He is going to get droned out as well. So they're expecting it and learning, which is always nice.
It's always something good to do. Learning doesn't stop at school, kids. Not even in university. It continues throughout your whole life.
There's a lot of schools where I think it's stopped. Nice angle there. A grenade down 2 floors. Uno in these grenades, man. He's just trying to show off to beat C, but he's not always finding his mark after that first one down the vent.
Goga diving on in here with the drone. He'll know that there's one player around the hallway, but it's Secretly, who's been staying on the Cool Vibe stairs quite a bit. And we've seen G2 losing 2-3 players here on Cool Vibes, and definitely don't want to be shooting at the indestructible wall there.
It's just a pre-fire fest between those two, waiting for the other one to make a movement. Another grenade going down here. Well, he takes out the blue mine.
No damage done, and Secretly awaiting for any players to be up by the rappel here on the window, but Cantor Ricchetti will find Vidaline. So at least that's the smoke taken away at the halfway point here in the round, and still watching for any players by the lounge.
Well, now down to the slow part of the round, where everyone tries to figure out where they're at and rotate around on the defense. Upstairs control, trying to be used by Uno, but so far he's just actually burning a ton of time, shooting and throwing grenades at very little. He actually is identified there, you saw. Cripps trying to find an angle on him as well. He's actually got the laser sight on there. Interesting choice. trying to potentially even hip fire to that if he needs to. But Red Groove, the one to slowly rotate as well and trying to find a safe position to use these Yokais. He might actually start droning himself to try and find where some of these players on G2 are because they have the man advantage. But Uno making it very clear where he's hanging out. And Crips actually to find the one on Pengu.
So something more here for Chaos to work with. Damage done from the top, but it's very close to killing Crips here. Got a pre-fire from Secretly. It's a tiny bit of damage, but not really enough. And there's 40 seconds left with a 4v4. You have the compound between the Maestro, between the Legion, and the Echo. It's really going to start to weigh heavily on you if you're G2. Secretly will take out Fabian. It's even more difficult with no Capitao, and there's no grenades left. Uno's already used those, so no fragging power, at least in terms of pure explosives, from the opposite end. Renault's just going to put himself back in to the bedroom, and he's got the perfect angle here to watch against his opponents. Keeps pre-firing to watch. Crips just fires again with every single bullet he's got in the SMG, but it'll get shot down by Goga. The zone bearing 9. Habana spot in the back right before the diffuser is set. There's no time left. The sledge is downed, and that's the kill that saved the round. Secretly, very well done here in the Jaeger, noticing. And it's the correct moment to peek. Get the most important frag so far. A 4-2 advantage for Chaos as we head at the second half. Man, the Swedish stack here is definitely doing work.
That round almost felt like watching a chess match. Just everyone continually repositioning, looking for angles, looking for advantages, especially Uno, just completely destroying the floor, throwing grenade after grenade, looking for someone to fight. And I think, unfortunately, that really cost them so much because he's their strongest fragger most of the time, and he's just sitting there shooting at nothing. You saw also all the pre-fire coming out from Goga, pretty much shooting at nothing, and I feel like that kind of summed up that round for G2 is a lot of shooting and a lot of not really hitting anyone or finding anyone, and Chaos playing very smartly in their positioning to try and avoid G2 and take favorable engagement. Secretly all the way up to 9 kills, along with Red Groove at 7. G2 not all the way up there just yet, but we have some interesting change-ups here. Finally going to get a Lion coming out from Chaos, which surprisingly G2 didn't ever bother with. And then Fabian bringing out the Mozzie. So this should be play out a bit differently here. We're going to start down at Bar. But this is it's been an interesting match so far, and certainly not going the way we would have expected to from the way G2 played last play day on Wednesday. We'll see how this Mozzie pays off. Unfortunately, it's not always easy to tell if he's managed to capture some drones, but I got to imagine there's a strong chance he'll play it smart and capture some here. Just looking for the right position to do so. He also has that super shorty to be able to do some destruction if he needs to be able to open up some angles. You may see that come into play as well, but they've got to worry about that Lion from Secretly, something, like I said, that really bothers G2. They obviously had a ban they wanted to do more than Lion, or I think they absolutely would have banned Lion if they had a second one available.
Maybe one day when you have 100 operators.
I have a feeling it's getting close to needing a second ban already.
Maybe in a year or two.
Yeah.
We'll be talking about it in a different way. If we're still alive. Who knows? Let's see if we can survive.
Oh, the warning.
That's what you're looking for. That's why you won't see the drones even venture into these areas, but there's nobody inside of the security room, so that's something you can also use as bait if you're on the defense. Yeah. Oh, the pre-fire from Renault's! 200 IQ play by him. Pengu will go down. A quick pop of the E1D will allow Secretly to penetrate the building here, and his teammates as well to relax for just a moment. Renault's is already inside and has to take in from the opposite end of the bars, just coming in by the kitchen. That Claymore is actually more difficult to spot than you think because you're running on in. You're not expecting anything in this spot. We'll continue on to the shock drone, just trying to eliminate any utility placed around. But there's nothing here to fear. And Secretly, alongside the entire team here, Chaos, kind of taking their sweet time before they attack.
Definitely looking for some positioning. Well, this is a little bit more similar to last round, although Fabian pinning down Secretly here, but losing the Uno losing the fight Secretly. That's going to be a big deal here because now it's a 5v3.
Fabian, having used all of his pests, he's got pretty much half of the map to control, at least the bottom half of it to control. That's what the pest really gives you, but the notification makes it a bit too obvious of where it is present, and you just don't have to go through that. You don't even have to worry about where Fabian is, depending on the position that you're really attempting to attack. Verlaine finding Kanto Raketti here as he's tagged down below. Goga and Fabian last two alive. You're just hoping here that any drone is being picked up. So far, just Goga being spotted. He fires in the back, and a bit of damage done here with the MP5. But again, his suppressed MP5 doesn't really do much damage at range. As Fabian walks along back to the site, defuses all on its own. Fabian will miss every single shot, but he'll drop one in the back. Goga will find another on the red groove. Flashbang in from Crips as he pre-fires, but they're both flashed. Goga with one, and Fabian for the last two. Well done by G2. The only two players left alive, they kind of just forced their opponents of Chaos to just run all the way into them. And it's such a loss. There's 4 players, and they all head into the one bar.
Yeah.
That's a bit too mindless there.
That was really the problem, is they hit choke points that G2 was prepared for at that point. I mean, I got to give a lot of credit to Chaos for, despite the Mozzie being in play, you saw a lot of good droning coming out from them, and I think that was a big early advantage in the round in terms of being able to get some of those kills. But once it came down to the last two, Goga and Fabian just set up kind of choke point areas where they pretty much had to come to them to be able to get the plant down and get set up. But also Fabian just really on top of his gunfire there. Yeah, he dropped one and then killed the other. Couldn't finish off the first one right away, but it didn't matter. He was completely denying their push because they had to go in through that way unless they wanted to try and go around through blue bar, which was going to be a struggle in of its own in terms of time. So they did manage to burn time as well, at least. But secretly, still continuing to do some work all the way up there at 10. Fabian, though, trying to catch up to him. He's going to be, instead of Mozzie, on the mute this time. Still, again, an operator to help deny some drones. We'll see how that goes down. We are going to have that Capitao again. That also was a big problem there, is the Capitao didn't work to counter Goga like he was hoping it would. And so Goga was able to just tap fire onto that kitchen through that tight angle. Pengu using his shotgun for some destruction here. I like all the secondary utility shotguns. I definitely think that was a great decision by Ubi when they introduced those with Mira and Jackal, and then continue those with the Australian operators.
Yeah, it's just more flexibility. Of course, you're not going to be doing all the remodeling and all the preparation work on your own if you're either on attack or on defense, but it definitely gives you more flexibility.
Yeah, that when they changed mute as well to give him the SMG-11 so he could play with the shotgun more as well. So that really changed up the destruction. Oh,
Kanto tagged again.
You're it.
He's alive at least for now, but there's nothing to put him back on full HP, unfortunately. No doc present. Nodes will continue to drone. He has no clue that he just skipped one player as he went around to the bedroom, but E1D being popped. We've seen a lot of Lion play in North America and in US Nationals as well. Kanto Raketti flying the headshot on Secretly. At least he does a decent chunk of damage here, and that's a pretty big operator and a player to remove off of Chaos.
Especially considering the fragging power coming out. You've got renewals on one of his favorite operators, Twitch, and then the Ash here. This gunfight, though, we know he's coming. The drone gave away that he's coming. It's just a matter of whether or not he can fight 2 people at once.
That's 3. It's a conga line of G2 players just going.
So either he gets a whole bunch of freebies at once or just gets demolished.
And usually that's what happens because you bite off more than you can chew. And like, well, I can't hit all the heads.
Well, thankfully for him, he's slowed down a bit. And he's going to pace himself now, start to do some more droning. Now that they don't have the line to more safely move into areas, they're going to have to slow down and drone a bit more. Kanto doing well despite his loss. But renewals. Like I said, this is one of his favorite ops, one he's very strong on, and then Crips following it up onto Kanto to finally finish him off. Looking good for Chaos, the man advantage and health advantage.
Gogo will be forced out here. Oh, no, shot from Pengu from above. At least Pengu loses one part of his utility. The drone will come in and spot the mute, but a bit too fast. Renewal spraying in, but he can't find the kill this time around. He needs the Ashen support. He'll find 1 kill on Fabian. And that's the double kill that is needed this entire round. Pengu, low on HP, still behind his Mira window. This is a setup that is a bit unorthodox this time around. And remember, Mira isn't really the biggest operator to run on this site specifically, just because you're afraid of getting your window shot down. And it's very easy to do so, either from below or even from the outside by the small window. Renault is now in the main hallway. 45 seconds left. It's 3v2 and low HP Pengu. Definitely doable for Chaos.
And they've got Red Groove all the way out in Ruins. Interesting choice there because he was rotating all the way around to the Aqua and lobby side. So this point, they're just looking for some kind of advantage, but I don't think G2 is going to give it to him. It's going to be similar to last round, where they're just going to force them into choke points for the plant as time dwindles down, but Pengu with such low health might not be able to win those fights.
This is why they need Renewals in a perfect position by the cross angle. The Mira's downstairs. Pengu will hit his C4 and connect on Red Group, but he's still alive? No, not for long. Triple kill for Crips. Still one alive. You hear the echo rattling in. Goga will find one, but the cross angle set by Renewals. He peeks around the corner and finds Goga. Both players at the same time, realizing and just hearing the rattle of the MP5 SD behind. It's a tiny bar here. in Billiard. It's all they needed. Chaos absolutely demolishing G2 so far. 1 point away, 1 round away from guaranteeing a single point at the end of this play day.
I got to say, watching G2 here get just surprised time and time again, it seems, by Chaos. When it comes to the information game or communication, whatever it is that's going on, obviously we can't hear their comms or see all their drones. It just comes down to Chaos seemingly either knowing what's going on with G2 at most times in terms of predicting where they're at and droning well, or just being much more on top of reacting. We've seen these slow reactions, these attempts at running away from G2 that are getting pre-fired or at least chased by Renewals, for example, through the wall. He doesn't always find all of them, but it just seems like Chaos feels one step ahead of G2, or at least whenever they come to encounter each other, just, I don't know, getting the advantage in the fight. It just seems like G2 maybe not really in the right mental space in this game, losing too many of those rounds early on attack. They don't seem to have found their stride just yet. There has been some great plays, though, from them nonetheless, and some good clutches as well as clutch attempts. But it's just Chaos seemingly on top of it. They're going to have to do a better job of denying droning, denying the information from G2, or from Chaos, or playing smarter angles, not getting caught off guard by some of the fraggers like Crips and Renewals. And now with the Nomad in play as well from Secretly, rotations are going to be much more of a problem. So I think when it comes to G2, they're going to have to play a lot more passive this round. I think passive is the name of the game for what they're playing, and they need to be better at anticipating Chaos's entries and playing that turtle to its fullest, playing time, and being ready to rotate back to site on their roamers as quick as possible.
No, rotations.
Right?
That's something outside of positioning. It's definitely something that you should always be looking out for, and to be able to rotate effectively, you need information, either on your own or by your teammates, and when everything gets together, it's all a beautiful cacophony of chaos, as they usually say.
Speaking of chaos.
Yep, they continue to drone around, and very well done here by Vidalian and the team to just push G2 away. Now you see Fabian's running the mute this time, and not the Muzzy we saw before. Kanto Raketti will connect with one, and the grenade! Oh, in the back. Damage done to Kanto, but not enough really to take him away. At least it forces him back for just a moment.
It was a great attempt. It's just the way the wall was positioned, how he was positioned. There was not enough space to get to him. But they are still getting some map control.
There you go.
Finally, yeah, his other one connects just fine. And that's a C4 lost.
Secretly ready to put his air jab down, but he hears the Maestro moving in by the main lobby. So now he gives that info away to Crips and to Red Groove, who's going to maneuver himself back up. And there's a Claymore to be picked up as well by the exterior staircase. Diffuser stood outside on the balcony, so you don't really need to worry about that for now. There's still quite a bit of time here to set up before you get on the site itself. At least the potential for run-outs is very much minimized.
Especially since everyone's pretty much outside. Crips finally getting in to Aqua, but then you've got the Capitao and the Sledge just hanging around outside. This is down to Chaos really being careful here, but run-outs don't need to be happening here. They just need to threaten them, break open some windows, set up in a position where all of a sudden they've got to watch for those run-outs and then play time. As right now it's still a 4v4, and actually with Renewals being down, frag power is reduced a bit here, so that's going to help them. But Red Groove still being alive is going to be a problem, I think, in terms of Capitao being able to force them out of position and potentially even into air jabs. So if they can take out Red Groove, I think this gives G2 a huge position advantage here. But it looks like the fire doesn't end up doing what it needs to do here. Kanto, though, still getting weakened.
Yeah, still in the back somehow, and Kanto Raketti will actually find the second. There's nobody by the small bar, so that's something that Chaos can be comfortable with, but I'm not sure if they even have all of that information. Still, breaching rounds have not been used by the Ash, and it's a 3v4. Kanto still roaming in by the bottom floor. He should be walking up the Cool Vibe stairs as we speak. But there you go, as we say all of this. Uno will find the kill on Vidalian. Crips with a refrag on Goga. There's still one now that put himself by the close-up bar, but it was taken away. On the floor, though, it's Uno to find another one. Red Groove will find the last two, and Vidalian had already downed Pengu. What? Can we just redo this whole thing?
Yeah. Good use of utility there to help out with those fights. And just the flick around from Red Groove onto Kanto, who was already low on health. I mean, the playing passive was good for a while, but again, just losing so many gunfights. Chaos can just seem to walk up to these gunfights and win them. It doesn't seem to be a case where, oh, it was just a smarter strategy. It's just, I don't see G2 winning enough advantage fights on defense where they should have angles they can hold and other advantages. Maybe they need some more intel ops in play. Maybe Echo needs to be doing some job with his yokai, have one on site, or even, at this point,
maybe just not have it.
Forget the site. Just use them to help everyone stay in good positions. Use them to spot people instead of even trying to deny it. Now, they are going to have the Mozzie again, which I think is smart. I think that was somewhat effective. We saw it, for example, denying them droning into security. But it's just, you really, really, really need to deny Chaos the ability to drone, the ability to get some intel, and the ability to get any kind of drop on you. Because G2 is just getting dropped on time and time again. Seems like this is definitely, obviously, as you said, the 1 point going over to Chaos, but honestly, at this point, unless something drastically changes for G2, this is very likely the last round of this match, and a little bit of a disappointment coming out from G2, who I was expecting maybe a bit more of, but maybe just not their day. Everyone has a bad day, and honestly, to me, that's what I feel like is happening from G2. I don't feel like it's, their strategy's not working or things like that. It just seems like their execution a bit off, whereas Chaos seems to really be on it today. And I think that's paying off, and that's a momentum thing. If you could call a technical timeout right now, I feel like G2 could come back. But because you can't, I think they might be stuck in the loss here.
You have little time here to just set yourself back up, and Kanto is already going to be down. Oh no, Renault now gets all the information, and Shock Drone's going to come out here. Crips already takes the kill away. And Shock Drone has been lost in the back, and Fabian at least with a quick refrag, but he's barely alive. And at this point in time, Nitrocell will have to come out, but Vitalane is already around. No pests were used, so Vitalane just moved on in. He had the drone information, didn't have to worry about anybody in the back. Uno was spotting around, but it's a bit too late now, my friend. 2 players have already been lost by G2. It's 2 very important players. If you lose either the Legion or the Echo now, then it gets pretty darn complicated to get it all back.
There's a Maestro camera sitting right there, and 2 dead players on G2 that could have been watching it. Could have been using that to help get some intel on them. Just, like I said, the lack of intel coming out from G2, and then not even using the pests, I don't know. I'm writing G2 off at this point, unless we see some serious fragging come out from, say, Pingu or Uno. Goga could go off, but it just doesn't happen as often. Again, there's Maestro cams. There's Goo Mines. There's Evil Eyes. Why are G2 not seeing this coming? Why are the dead players not really helping out here in terms of anticipating? G2, though, now down in bunker down mode, this is definitely what they need to be doing, especially on time, but there's still 1:20 left. They really need to burn off so much more, because as map control comes here from Chaos, it's just going to turn into air jabs and grenades, as well as capped out firebolts that are just going to completely push them out at this point.
Yep, there's going to be too much for you to worry about. And again, see what both teams, Redgroove's going to move in, try to penetrate through by the bar. The Echo of Goga will find 1 kill. As he goes for the drop shot, something that's still available. The Twitch gets down and taken away, while down by Uno. It all swings back to G2. There's still a decent chunk of time here, but none of it was used by the Sledge to prepare for this assault. There we go. We hear an air jab and a quick kill from Secretly as he turns back to find a spot on his opponent. Maybe somebody will rush into him. Secretly, there we go. Finds the 1 kill on Goga. Last alive is Uno. It's definitely doable here if he catches the rotation, but the diffuser's all on its own. Right, the opposite end, the entry to the bar. Goo Mine to get stuck in the foot of the Nomad of Secretly. No information was given. Now all the tags are coming along here to give Uno all the info he needs against Secretly, pre-firing into him, and Uno just keeps on rattling. Puts his hand on the mouse and just keeps on firing.
Well,
very well done.
When you're wrong, you're wrong. G2 managed to pull that out there, and there was a bit too much aggression without some coordination from Chaos pushing in, really trying to fight Uno, maybe unnecessarily, without the intel to do it. And it was good to see that intel, like I mentioned, being used at the end. You saw, for example, the Goo Mine and the ping coming out on blue bar. That was what they needed to be doing a bit earlier in the round. It seems like G2 is able to win more often in these clutch situations, the situations where it's just down to a couple of them, and the push from Chaos seems to really stall out. They don't seem to have a great end-of-round execution when it comes down to like a 2v2 or a 3v2. They push a little too individually, end up in gunfights that are not favorable to them, when really, you know where the players of G2 are primarily going to be. You just need to push them out of position, use your utility. Maybe Chaos is just burning up too much of the utility early on, but that air jab did end up getting a kill. And you saw Secretly up there at 12 kills, but then a couple of players on G2 with 10 and 11, so they're finally starting to catch up a little bit in that respect. But trying to fight for a draw here is always a bit demotivating in terms of what you want to get out of it. We'll see if G2 can pull it back. They are going to switch up to an alibi, so something a little bit new here, but we'll see if Uno can frag out with that. As we know, that gun is pretty strong.
Yep.
In the right hands of someone who's very accurate. Reminds me a little bit of Valkyrie. It is kind of similar to the MPX, and we see a lot of really good fraggers on the MPX, which is counterintuitive for people who are just playing in casual or ranked, because the headshot is what counts on it. I mean, it's got a decent fire rate, and it's weak as heck, like what you're saying with the MP5.
Yep.
Silence, maybe a little bit stronger than that, but you really need to hit the head with the gun. But for players at this highest skill level, it seems to work very, very well.
We've seen a lot of work done with Valkyrie in regions like APAC or like in Latin America, where the Valkyrie band that's a pretty good...
If you would have captured the shock drone, that would have been stellar. You could have even used it to come out and shoot the Claymore.
Yeah, I mean, it works. You just have to turn around and shoot it yourself as the Twitch, so you kind of have to save yourself.
And the Twitch drone could go take out some of these alibi holograms, which would be helpful, but you only get so many shots, and you want to save those for some more useful things if you can. You can potentially take out pests too if you can get the right angle. There is no Maestro to deal with this time. The Evil Eyes just weren't enough to help them, I guess, and I gotta agree with that. They just weren't doing a ton for them, and Kanto wasn't doing as much work as you would like on the playing on Maestro, and I think he's a stronger Doc, so this might be a better fragging round for him. Air jabs, though, already coming into sight to deny a rotation coming in from the bar area.
Renault still holding on. Stock entrance, but there's nobody in there just yet. All the utility being fired up here by the Capitao. Fabian and Goga will find one each, but Redgroove has found one for himself. The Nomad of Secretly will continue to fire in. He finds a free kill as well on Pengu. Should have been an air jab here sit on the wall. I'm not sure if it was actually fired down, but the diffuser will be set, that's for sure. Rotation in from Fabian. He's defiant Secretly. That's Redgroove to find the double kill and take him away. 2v1 as Redgroove is solo on HP. All the utility being thrown into his face as he turns around. He's got to watch for the rotation. One taken away. He turns around. And maybe find Kanto Raketti, who now should be healing himself at max. Half time left on the diffuser, and Kanto will penetrate through the rotation hole. Redgroove knows what's up, so he just falls back. He can play all of this to his advantage. Kanto Raketti making a ton of noise, and if he decides to walk on into the kitchen, he'll be spotted. Redgroove, you have to dive on in. You have to find the fight, and this is where Kanto turns around. Everything done so well by Redgroove, who's just delaying it perfectly. Finally gets dropped, but the time is already over. Chaos will win round number 11 and actually defeat G2 at the end of the day. The 7-4 scoreline that Chaos have not really been able to find for quite a while. Most teams have not been able to do so. This is on a map, again, Coastline. G2 is known for dominating on.
I gotta, again, imagine that this was just an off day for G2, but that is definitely not disparaging Chaos, who played a very, very strong game. Definitely thought there was a chance that G2 could come back that time, but that was not the performance we expected from some of the players. For example, Kanto, just really not fragging out the way we expect him to usually. Pengu, who is always kind of a mixed bag, he's been almost more support a lot lately, but he's a very reliable support in that sense. The same with Goga as well. But Fabian not fragging out at the same level we would expect Kanto as well. Uno doing okay, but just overall, I think it was a case where they just didn't seem to have the firepower.
Honestly, if I want to boil it down to something, the frags were there. 12 kills for Fabian, 11 frags for Uno. It was there. It's just when you get all these kills, but then you can't translate it into a round victory.
They're impactless ones.
They're impactless. So you can get as many frags as you'd like, but they're not actually translating into one round.
Well, the problem is they were almost all in trades. Either they would get the kill and then get traded, or someone would get killed and they would trade it. And that was the case where it was never really to get an advantage. They were at a disadvantage practically every round.
Pretty much.
Or at the very least, usually health disadvantage. And it was a case where just maybe they weren't playing the right ops or the right strategy to counter Chaos, but Chaos played their game. And we saw it just dominate. And now G2, already their first loss of the season on day 2. So it's going to be a very, very interesting season. I mean, this week alone has been, I would say Chaos describes it in terms of just the amount of upsets have been fantastic. This season, so many question marks as to where it's going to end up.
Yeah, I really can't wait to see how every season we sit here, Devin, and we're like, this is the best season we've had yet. and then every season somehow is able to outdo it. And we're still in week 1, so we're weighing heavily into G2 and how they are because we're expecting them to do more. When you're world champion, of course the stress is going to be higher on you.
And it's going to be the same for next match as well, where we're going to be harping on Empire. And are they going to fall as well? Will we see the underdogs kind of take over the top?
Penta Sports, I mean, we can talk about the team later because they've had a pretty good performance very recently, a couple days ago. Just for those who don't know, there's many more tournaments where we're talking about for every single region. One of them is the French region. So we'll take a look at that later on. However, we got our interview lined up. Let's have a chat with Secretly. Tjenare Secretly, how are you? Happy Midsummer.
Tjena. Thank you. Happy Midsummer to you too.
Well, I hope everything's going well because so far in this matchup, you kind of had control over G2. Devin was talking about it. It was constant refrags, but you dictated the pace. How are you able to just predict how G2 will play to deal with it yourselves?
To be honest, we had no idea what they would do going into it since we have no footage of them playing this map with Uno, of course. So we just played, we just practiced a certain style all week or to prepare for it, and it paid off, right? We didn't really do anything special to counter them, I feel like.
Well, one impressive thing, looking at the way that the whole game was played out, is that you're able to rotate back on the site and really have everybody positioned that in the place that you needed them to be at the right time. How is the information being gathered around and sent from one player to the other to allow this sort of preparation?
So when their fast pushes came, for example, on the hookah push, it was a bit of a panic mode in the beginning, right? And because of the intensity of the calls coming out and whatnot, me and Crips, we storm back to the site to see what's happening, because in those situations it's very hard to figure out what's going on, what's happening. So you kind of just get close to the site, see if you can pick up a few stragglers here and there, which happened, of course. And after that, when the communication slows down a bit, you need to make sure that both of us roamers that are still alive, that we work together and just try to pick them up one by one, which we did. So yeah, you just gotta make sure that you're patient in the beginning, in all that chaos that happens in the communication.
It seems like your team very much strives in the chaos. I wonder how that comes on. But can we talk for a second of that fadeaway no-scope clutch by Redgroove on Kitchen? I know there's probably not much in the way of communication at that point because it's pretty much the solo play, but how was the environment before and after it?
Well, when he got put in the 1v3, so when it's Redgroove, okay, he always clutches somehow, which... yeah, you saw that was a bit of a miracle clutch, but if it's him in the clutch situation, we sit there, we're quiet, we let him do his thing, and it usually works out. So yeah, we knew the last guy was above, and we expected him to just try to stick the plant to some off angle, but since Redgroove has a million IQ, he runs out and C4s the window. So yeah.
He's expecting someone to be close to maybe a hole that's open in that position, right? But it was just... it's a combination of luck and skill, I guess, at that point. And that's something that's so surprising every time with Redgroove. Every time he just seems to pull these plays and tricks out of nowhere, I have to say. But there was a lot of rounds where, especially when you guys were on the defense, there's a fast map control from G2, and then everything just kind of disappears, and you were playing on your own, kind of able to move around your players on the chessboard very easily. Did that stop and start mode from G2 at any point scare you, or were you just ready for it the whole time?
So a lot of teams have been adapting a similar playstyle to what they do. So a few seasons ago, the way they play it's really scary, right? And I remember just a few seasons ago, we played them on Coastline. We got absolutely destroyed by this playstyle and them finding weaknesses and just moving players around. But now there's so many teams that do it, and especially on a map like Coastline, that it becomes a little bit more predictable, and we can move around our pieces more efficiently and try to rotate players to counter it. So I think we just had more experience playing against it now, with a lot more teams adapting the same playstyle as they have.
Yeah, I remember around Season 7 or so, FaZe Clan was starting to play it, especially Invitational 2018 and beyond. It was definitely scary to see that playstyle, and now everybody just kind of plays around it, and it's become more your regular meta. That said, though, Secretly, would you like to say anything to the fans out there watching Chaos after your victory here against the reigning world champions, G2?
Thanks a lot for the support, guys. This means a lot to us, means a lot to our our fan base as well, I'm sure, as this marks another step in our progress to being a top team. So thank you all for your continued support, and I'll see you again next week.
All right, thank you very much, Secretly. And again, congratulations. We'll see you for next play day on Monday.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, blessed with G2 not winning, so we didn't have to see Fabian there. But no, it was interesting, all the talk about playstyle, right? They were talking about they'd been practicing their playstyle all week and talking about G2's playstyle and the playstyle meta and how that spread in. I think it's an interesting thing to highlight in terms of, like, you have strategies, you have certain roles and operators and things like that, but playstyle is something we probably don't talk about enough in terms of how they actually play, regularly, so you know how they think or how to play against them on the fly. So
that's something you can only gather with regularity, with regular training as well, and just experience flat out. But with that said, ladies and gentlemen, I guess our matches so far are just coming to a pretty darn good start. Game number 2, Empire versus Penta Sports. I think more than a few people are pretty excited for that, so we'll be back in just a few minutes for the match of the day.